Okay, so in this video, I want to show you kind of a really useful little tool. You might not use it too much in practical application. I mean, you never know. I always say the more things you know mathematically, the better off you are. So what this is called is writing something to the nearest 16th, 32nd, or 64th of an inch. Now again, if this process doesn't make sense, I will upload some notes onto Canvas too, kind of like a typed out version of this that you can refer back to. Or you can watch the video, whichever one. I don't care. I'll link them to the same page. So what we look at the problem here, they said write 0.643 inches to the nearest 16th of an inch. Okay. Now the inherent problem with this is that 0.463 you're not going to find on any type of measuring tape, any standard measuring tape. I know in the future they'll probably have something that outdates this, but in the meantime we got to work with what we got. So we need to figure out what this is to the nearest 16th of an inch. Okay, now in case you're not familiar, 16ths of an inch, that's how a ruler is broken up. Like a ruler can be broken up, or a measuring tape, anything that measures inches can be broken up into certain divisions. Okay, that's the word I was looking for. So when you look right here, I'll give you an example. Probably should have got a picture of a ruler, but we'll do a rough drawing. So if you got, like, say, here's the 0 mark, here's the 1 inch mark, got halfway in between. So if this is 16ths of an inch, 3, 2, 3, 4, 6. So if you look right here with 16ths of an inch, just imagine they're evenly spaced. I'm no Picasso. Well, actually, that would be a Picasso, nice and crooked and asymmetrical. But anyways, I'm no famous painter. So we look at this one. What the 16th of an inch means I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Halfway mark, notice is 8 because if you have 8 out of 16, you have half. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Because if we recall from our fractions unit, if I have 16 out of 16, what do I have? That's right, 1 or 1 full inch. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to take this decimal and we need to figure out which of these notches it's the closest to. Okay, so we look right here, 0.643. Sorry, I'm a little dyslexic today. You can make a rough estimate where that would be, because that's as a percentage, that's 64.3%. So I have about 64.3% of an inch. So there's half, maybe somewhere in here. Maybe the 10/16ths or the 11/16ths. Okay, but that could be kind of a guessing method, but we need to be accurate with this. So we can use a little bit of arithmetic to figure this out. And it's a pretty simple process. Okay, so let me erase that. Okay, so let me get rid of that. As you guys know, I've had trouble with that shape capture feature. Sometimes it likes my art and it wants to keep it, and other times when I want it to do it, it won't do it. So when we look right here, what we need to do is you take your decimal measurement, you take the 0. Come on. Okay, I can do this. There we go. You take the 0.43, that number. Okay, I'm just going to give up on trying to pronounce it. And what we do is we times this by 16. Because what this will tell me, and you kind of recall similar methods from this from the last section, what we're doing is we're basically finding how much of a 16th this is exactly. Okay, so what we do, take out your calculator. So we take 0.643, we times it by 16. So that gives me 10.288. Put that in. So 10.288. Okay, now when we look at this one, we're not going to see a 10.288 on the measuring tape, okay? So now the rule is, with the rounding, we round to the nearest whole number. And if we follow the rules of rounding to the nearest whole number, we round this down, we round the 10 down, or sorry, the 10.288 down just to 10. And then it's 10/16 because we're changing it to 16. Okay, so a lot of people ask, like, where does the 16 come from? Well, we're trying to make this a fraction so it translates to our measuring tape. So we look at this one, 10.22 is closer to 10 than it is to 11, so we write 10/16. Or if you want to simplify that, when it comes time for the assignment, I don't care which one you use, or 5/8 of an inch. If you give me this one, I'll accept it. I know technically it should be 5/8, but you know, with these problems, I'm specifically asking for 16ths, so if you leave it like that, not the end of the world. Okay, so let's look at another one here. Okay, so now we kind of got the same idea, but instead of 16ths of an inch, you do 32nds of an inch. Now, 32nds of an inch, the only difference between that and 16ths is instead of having 16 lines between 0 and the full inch mark, now you have 32 of them. All they did was take those 16ths and cut them in half, so a more precise unit of measurement. But the process is still the same. So we look at this one, 0.432, we have little under a half an inch. So what you do is you take that, the 0.432, and we times that by 32. Okay, what you'll find is this process is actually pretty repetitive. Once you actually get into it, there's not like a sudden twist or turn. All you really have to do is take your decimal measurement, times it by what you're trying to find, and this works for any fraction. It doesn't have to be 30 seconds. Like if you need to find eighths of something, you times it by 8 instead of 32. If you need to find, twelfths of something, you times it by 12 instead of 32. Okay, so it's actually a pretty useful method when you're trying to figure out fraction equivalence. So we take 0.432 and we times it by 32. So that gives me 13.824. 13.824. So now we look at this one. So 13.824, think in your mind, is that closer to 14 or is it closer to 13? Well, 13.8, that's almost all the way to 14. So we're going to say this one is about 14 32nds of an inch. Okay. Now again, the wavy equal signs are there because is it exactly 13.824? No. Is it about that? Is it about 14 32nds? Yes, it's close. Or again, if you want to reduce this, I think that reduces down to 7/16 of an inch. I don't care which one you write. Okay, if you do this one or that one, because again, like I say in the last one, if they wanted I wanted in 30 seconds, so if you leave it like that, not the end of the world. Okay. Okay, let's go to the last example here. Now, this one can be kind of confusing. I know. A lot of people have had trouble with problems like this. So they said, write 2.235 inches to the nearest 64th of an inch. So even though we're changing to 64ths, there's no difference between this and the other two problems we just did. The only thing you got to do with this one, or account for, is now we have that whole number there. So what I always tell people to do on these ones, if you working with this, you already know part of the answer. I know my answer is going to be 2 and however many 64ths this decimal ends up being. So just kind of cut to the chase there. So just take the decimal part, the 0.2345, because we don't need to figure the 2 full inches in there. You already know 2 is 2. That's set. We're just trying to figure out how many 64ths that is. And I times that by 64 because we're going to 64ths of an inch. So let's do that. 0.235 times 64. So we get 15.04. Okay. Finally get a little bit cleaner number. We should, because when you go to 64ths, you're dealing with really precise measurement. So we get 15.04. So we look at that one. We think, is 15.04 closer to 15 or closer to 16? I shouldn't even have to ask that question. Everyone should be saying, Michaels, come on, that's 15. Don't even patronize me with that. So, and the answer is yes, it is 15. Okay, because I'm hoping at this point in the quarter, some of this stuff's starting to get redundant. And, maybe when you're watching these videos or looking at online assignments, maybe you're rolling your eyes a little bit like, oh, God, why are we doing this again? Because in a sadistic way, I want you to be annoyed with it because, if you're annoyed with it, that means it's routine. That means you have this stuff down and you need to challenge yourself. Because that's really what I strive for with math with people, is it for it to be boring because it's routine, not boring because it's math. Because I'm a realist. I know not everyone loves math to the degree I do. Okay, but let me see. Rant over. So when we look at this one, that's the basics of this method. Again, I'll post notes to this too. So in case you need a step-by-step process, you don't want to listen through my rambling, incoherent lecture on this one. That's fine.